If you have the expectancy that the job is mine for all eternity, no matter what the job spec actually requires, even though the title's the same, that just feels wrong. And it is not in this instance that you as a CEO, if you have an employee where you have to have that tough conversation, that you're necessarily forcing that on them. It could be the startup in itself that just requires something very different from you as a leader. So I think that's been a helpful mental framework to explain to people why that is and why the job changes, but the titles remain the same. The harder thing, though, is culturally really enacting that because it's so unusual. And I think the best way to do that is obviously by role modeling that yourself. And so in my case, what I often say is I've had the same title for now close to 17 years. It's pretty crazy. But I'm on my probably 8th job at the moment. And actually, my newest job started in January. So I handed off the reins from much of my day-to-day responsibility to two of my core people, Gustav, who runs product and technology, and Alex, who now runs the business side. And so my role is vastly different than it's been. And I'm actually still trying to learn on the job what I'm supposed to do and what I'm not supposed to do in my new role description. And it has two benefits, I think. It means that new opportunities will be created. So and Alex and Gustav, they've been with me 12 and 14 years, respectively. So they've been with me for a very long period of time. I am 100% certain that if they were really doing the same jobs like they were when they got to the company, they wouldn't have stayed. So this creates growth opportunities for them, but it also creates a very clear path where you can have very honest conversations with people and talk about what they want to do in their career and whether or not that matches what that next evolution of that role looks like at your company, or perhaps there might be other roles at the company that's always beneficial. So I like to think about, let's see if we can create the job internally first, and then only if that doesn't work, then you start looking at maybe it's time to look sort of externally for the same job. And the harshest way to do it would be almost asking people to reapply to the same job again. I don't formally do that, but I like checking in with people to kind of say, do you really still want this job? And does that make sense? And yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge part of why I'm here 17 years later, because my job keeps changing. And yes, it's been the same title for quite a while, but my day-to-day responsibilities today is very different. My first job was kind of being the janitor, screwing together tables and chairs and all that stuff. There's a whole team at Spotify that does that now. So I'm lucky enough to just show up and the whole space looks beautiful. And I sit down in furniture and IT equipment that just works. But my job today is like engaging with regulators, with all the different stakeholders, dealing with very complex stakeholder problems, whether they are employees and unions and all what it requires, dealing with very complex, what does it take to run a platform with 500 million consumers and tens of millions of creators. Very different challenges where even a small change in that platform, you can't make that thing when you have an entire music industry that's totally dependent on every single tweak that you make. So you can't sort of move fast and breaking things in that regard, where obviously when you were a startup, that was kind of what you needed to do. So very different job, very intriguing and intellectually challenging. And I probably wouldn't have been ready for the job I'm having now 17 years ago. But it's kept it interesting and I've been able to grow with the company.
Hi, I'm Logan Bartlett, the host of this podcast. I just wanted to take a quick second to tell you that we have a bunch of killer guests coming on over the course of the next few weeks. And so if you're enjoying these conversations with both entrepreneurs and investors, please do subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out.